This is the Alcohol Free Lifestyle Podcast, where you learn to live a life of health, wealth, love, and happiness.
Hey there, welcome back to the podcast. I'm Victoria English, head coach at Alcohol Free Lifestyle. Today we're following up on a recent episode where we talked about the alcohol industry's huge advertising push during the holiday season. If you haven't listened to that one, go check it out. And today we're diving deeper into a concept that affects so many of us this time of year: cognitive dissonance. You've probably felt it in the air already. The holiday season rolls around, and everywhere you look, alcohol ads are showing these perfect, cozy, happy moments. You see people toasting with friends, couples sharing a drink by the fire, and family gatherings that look like they're out of a movie. But then you look at your own life and your own relationship with alcohol, and the pictures don't quite match up. Maybe you wake up feeling more drained than festive, or you wake up feeling anxious, disconnected from the people around you. You might feel shame, regret. Maybe you ate too much on top of all of the drinking last night, and you're wondering, is it going to be another year of weight gain during the holiday season? So, that gap between what's advertised and your reality, that's cognitive dissonance. It can be pretty tough to navigate. In our last episode, we talked about how long we've been receiving these messages. When was the first time you remember alcohol being portrayed as something important during, say, Christmas? And when did you start to recognize that your reality didn't match that? So, we're going to talk about that cognitive dissonance that's created by holiday alcohol ads and your own drinking habits. We're going to talk about how it messes with your mind and emotions, why it happens. And of course, the key phrase here in everything we do at Alcohol Free Lifestyle is empowerment. How can you overcome that cognitive dissonance to create a more authentic and joyful holiday season? One that is aligned with how you actually want to feel, not what the ads are telling you. So, I'm going to touch on cognitive dissonance first. We talk a lot about this in Project 90, our 90-day alcohol cessation program. When people come in, they are filled with it. And I touched on that in the last episode about how they come in and everything can look really, really good on the outside. And it creates stress in high performers. They find themselves saying, wait a minute, I can't actually have a big alcohol problem if I've got this, and this going right for me. I had my best year ever last year in business, and I am drinking more often, larger amounts. How can this be? So that's a great example of cognitive dissonance. In this case, around the holidays, we can acknowledge that alcohol ads are selling you an idea. Alcohol equals joy, connection, relaxation, sophistication. Think back as I finished the last episode around this, I asked you to play a game, I Spy a Lie. And I invite you to share your I Spies on social media. You can share it to my Instagram at Victoria English 1111, at James Swanwick, and we'll keep this conversation going. But it's kind of like a kid's game, I Spy, except we're looking at I Spy a Lie. So, right, all these ads are saying if you drink, you will experience joy, connection, relaxation, sophistication. Except your experience with alcohol, if you're listening to this podcast, is probably far from that. It may be like regret, disconnection from self, like I mentioned before. That was certainly the case for me. And yet, I spent so much time trying to make my reality match what I was seeing.
Hi there, James Swanwick. Just a quick invitation for you to watch the scientifically proven stop drinking methodology that's been helping hundreds of successful people all over the world to reduce or stop drinking. If you go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/project90, you can watch the free neuroscience-based training. There's also a link in the show notes. Okay, back to the show.
Now you're left with two conflicting thoughts. Alcohol should make me feel good versus alcohol is making me feel bad. Or what's your version? Alcohol makes life fun versus alcohol isn't fun anymore. Come up with your own. Either way, it does feel exhausting. I get it. And so, the reason this cognitive dissonance is even greater and so powerful during the holidays is that there's added pressure. Not only are you bombarded with the images of the perfect holiday moments, but there's also the social pressure to drink at parties, family gatherings, and celebrations. And so think about it. If you do a relatively good job of controlling your drinking when you go out in public, then during these months you go out in public more and more, that can be extra exhausting. I know when my drinking was getting pretty bad, I would drink a little bit at a party and then I'd go home. I didn't trust myself to to drink uh, in public, and so that can be exhausting. Not to mention, it's kind of a crapshoot, isn't it? When you go out, you may have lost control over how much you consume, and so again, there's that holiday tradition. So much of the season is wrapped up in nostalgia. And a lot of it involves the alcohol. So if you're not drinking, you're not fully participating. That's the messaging, isn't it? That can add to the cognitive dissonance. So, what do we do about it? What do we do about that cognitive dissonance, especially during this time of year? Well, you're doing it right now. And so you can give yourself a pat on the back. Maybe something you're not accustomed to doing if you're still stuck in the cycle of drinking, but go ahead, give yourself a pat on the back because you're listening to a topic that can be challenging, can bring up some emotions like, man, how'd I get bamboozled like this? And you're still here. That's a really good sign. That's a sign that you're not going to give up. You're not giving up on yourself, your family, your values. So stay with me. It's worth it. So, step one that you're doing right now is awareness. Just recognizing that the dissonance is there, that what's being sold to you doesn't match your reality is a giant step. You're kind of a rebel because the alcohol industry is spending billions of dollars creating an idealized image of drinking during the holidays. And once you recognize it and you know that those ads aren't telling the full truth or maybe not even the truth at all, you can start to break free from the emotional tug they have on you. That can feel pretty liberating. You may not feel like you have the tools to do anything about it yet, and that's okay. The fact that you're just aware of it and acknowledging it is a big, big deal. And so, as you ask yourself, is alcohol really making my holiday season better? Or is it just something I've been conditioned to think should be part of the celebration? It can lead you to the next steps. The next step is getting honest with yourself about your own experiences with alcohol. Now, this can be challenging, and I invite you to release self-judgment here and simply observe. Is it possible to do that? Because remember, you're just gathering information with which you will form perhaps a conclusion, perhaps a plan for action. And so while you do this, again, just try and stay neutral, just observe it. And so let's talk about your experiences with alcohol. How long have you been feeling like drinking during the holidays doesn't bring you joy, doesn't bring you connection? For how long have you noticed that it actually adds stress, worsens your mood, creates tension in your relationships? Just take a look at your reality through a clear lens. So once you've considered that, you can start to consider something else, something else that may be more aligned with what you want during the holiday season. Do you know what you want it to look like? A good place to start might be, what are your values? What do you want to think about when you look back at the end of 2025? What do you want to think about when you look back on this holiday season, 2024, of course, until New Year's 2025? What do you want to notice? What do you want to celebrate? How do you want to show up? Those can be important questions in, perhaps for the first time, redefining the role of alcohol during your holidays. So choose what makes the holidays meaningful and fun for you. What feelings do you want more of? How do you want your time to be spent? Are there any new traditions you'd like to begin? Are there any projects, Christmas projects, that you have thought about but never found the time for? Tell you what, a lot of time opens up when you're not hungover. Last year I am not a crafty person. My 4 children can tell you that from when they were growing up. But last year I did find this garland that you put outside of your home. I have an arched entryway on the porch, and I found it like on Pinterest or something, which I avoid. That place is scary. It is inspiring, but yeah, I've ended up with too many thousand bead kits and such, like some things like that. So I found this project, and it was this beautiful garland. So you buy the pre-lit garlands, and I went all out with these big Christmas balls and stars, and oh, it was just beautiful. And it took a few hours, but I did a little bit over the course of 2 days. And you know what? I didn't notice it at the time, but when I hung it up and I enjoyed it every day, and the neighbors enjoyed it, my family, I thought that is something I would have never done back in my drinking days. I would have coveted something like that. I may even have spent a ton of money buying a pre-made one. But there's something special about that. And now that's something I'll put up every Christmas. So things like that, what would you do if you weren't hungover? If you weren't feeling ashamed? You get to choose. So as I said, Bridging the gap between the advertised version of the holidays and your real life can help a lot with the cognitive dissonance. Imagine what it would feel like to not be pulled in all those directions. I need to drink. No, I shouldn't. Ah, I'm supposed to go to this party. Everyone's going to be drinking. Certainly I can just have a couple so I fit in. I did it again. I had too much. Oh my gosh, did Domino's come and bring me a pizza last night? Uh, all right, well, I got to get to the gym. I feel terrible. I won't make it to the gym. Well, now I'm going to gain weight and I won't fit in my New Year's Eve dress. All that stuff. Just imagine that. What would it feel like to not have yourself pulled in all those directions? To just let go and get curious about what could it be like to not drink during the holiday season. I know for me that there were times when I had stopped drinking that I had an alcohol-free holiday season and it was really nice. Um, and then I'd go back to it, and toward the end, the holidays just were dimmed by the drinking. It was okay, but just dimmed. So if you asked me, like, well, what held you back? Why wouldn't you do that all the time? Well, it's a drug and it's addictive, and I was caught in the cycle. But there was a lot of that dissonance. Like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to look like this at the holidays when I drink, even though the evidence was stacking up that I didn't look like that. And that's okay, because now I understand why, and I got curious and I took action. You know, you'd be surprised how many people are questioning the same things you are. This is no longer just a trend, this alcohol free lifestyle. It's a movement. Most of our members in Project 90 are between late 30s and 60s. And so by that age, pretty much everyone is thinking about health, well being, right? And so the people who are continuing to drink the way they did when maybe it was working a little better for them, you'd be surprised. They aren't very happy about it. And so I get it can be tough to strike out on your own and make a decision to do this. And you don't need to do it by yourself. You know, this is what we do. We have a lot of people who come in before the holidays for this exact reason. Wait a minute, my drinking does not look like those ads, and after last season, I'm not taking a chance. So they come in and they've got this support and this community, and everyone in there is also doing the holiday season without alcohol for the first time. Imagine the camaraderie, the support, the mocktail recipes. You guys, there is so much good stuff out there to drink now. Really, the market just keeps getting better and better and better. And you can get so creative. There's Instagram accounts, there's all sorts of things. And of course, we provide some of our own recipes. And so you're in with all these high performers. Everyone's a little bit nervous and also excited. What's this going to be like? You're doing it together. While you're doing it together, you're learning from our coaches the science of why. You're learning more about society and alcohol and how the heck we all got here with our relationship with drinking. It's so empowering. And on Christmas morning or during Hanukkah, Thanksgiving, all of it, you'll get to wake up being your authentic self. No red eyes, no shame, no headaches. say that's a worthwhile experiment. So, as we move toward the holiday season, I challenge you to reflect on your relationship with alcohol. Does it align with the experience you want to have this year? If not, are you ready? Are you ready to write your story instead of alcohol writing it for you? As always, the invitation is to book that free discovery call with one of our coaches. Let's find out. Let's look at what this next chapter could be like. And I hope to hear from you soon. Maybe I'll see you on a coaching call. Take good care.
Thanks so much for listening. If you'd like to learn more about our stop drinking services, you can go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com. You can follow me on Instagram at James Swanwick. Our YouTube channel is at alcoholfreelifestyle.com/YouTube, or you can send me an email at james@alcoholfreelifestyle.com.